the jet-setting wealth advisory podcast, where your financial journey takes flight with David T.U. As an airline pilot and financial expert, David merges the aviation industry and wealth management to help you navigate today's complex financial skies. Each episode features expert insight, blending personal stories with essential financial strategies. We ask that you fasten your seatbelts and sit back as we prepare for takeoff. Our destination, your financial empowerment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Jet Setting Wealth Advisory, where we spotlight financial leaders and innovators helping clients reach new altitude in wealth and life. I'm David Yu, an active airline pilot, wealth advisor, and host of the show. Each week, we explore strategies to help professionals like you chart a clear course towards financial freedom and long-term success. Today, we're joined by Perry, a CPA with a strong background in accounting, consulting, and audit, including experience working with several Fortune 500 companies. He founded Vital Accounting Services right here in Fort Lauderdale, just as where my office is at, to bring high-level financial guidance to small businesses with a focus on clarity, strategy, and sustainable long-term growth. A graduate of Florida State University with a degree in accounting and finance, Perry combines deep technical expertise with practical real-world approach. Perry balances his professional work with family life and enjoys sports and outdoors and spending time with his wife and 3 kids. Get ready for a thoughtful conversation about financial clarity, smart decision-making, and building a strong foundation for long-term business success. Welcome, Perry.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Absolutely. You began your career inside a large Fortune 500 environment. What ultimately inspired you to leave the corporate world and start Vital Accounting Services?
Yeah, the corporate world is much different than small businesses. After 17 years in that corporate environment, it kind of chews you up and spits you out. There's a grind to it, and you grind a lot. And that you're working for everybody else and not for yourself. At a certain point, I wanted to be able to control my hours, my time, what I was doing, and then the people that I was working with. When you work on your own, you kind of control all of that narrative.
So how is it going, working for yourself?
It's going great. I love it. I'm never going back to the corporate world, I'll tell you that much.
Okay. And what gap did you see in the small business accounting world that made you believe owners needed something beyond traditional bookkeeping and accounting?
Yeah, it's kind of, when I was looking into different things to try out, bookkeeping, a lot of them they were retired nurses, teachers. There wasn't a lot of dedicated professionals with real accounting experience that kind of were going into that realm and helping people. And so I thought, an accountant, a CPA, with all of my experience, I really could help small businesses that need it. So I focused on finding those businesses that are really in need of that financial guidance. Maybe they're doing it themselves. Maybe they have someone that they're working with, but giving them a little bit more of that financial information and clarity to kind of help them along the way.
Okay. So since you brought that up, how did those pillars become the foundation of your firm?
Yeah, so I kind of looked into what my clients were looking for and heard, pain points as I was starting. And a lot of them was, I'm not getting timely information from my current bookkeeper, or, I don't know my financials. I don't know what I'm spending. They couldn't tell me. Everyone could tell me what their revenue is, but nobody could tell me what's my gross profit. Did it increase? Did it decrease? Did I sell more? Did I have more selling expenses? Were my cost of goods higher? What am I spending on marketing? So a lot of them didn't have that detailed information. And so giving them that clarity, giving them that additional information really helps those businesses to make those better financial decisions.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
So for listeners who may be struggling to understand their numbers, what does financial clarity really mean? And how do you explain that to the customers that you serve?
Yeah, and most of our customers are not accountants. They're not financial individuals. They are, they either work in a specific industry. So they don't, this is something that's completely foreign to them. And especially a new business owner coming in, they run their business. They don't want to deal with the financial aspect of it. They don't want to deal with, how they're, they want to know how they're doing, but they don't want to, get into the weeds of it. So we explain to them, and we keep it as simple as possible with, understanding your P&L, which is basically the revenue in, the money that we're spending against that and kind of getting to that gross profit, which is, the cost of goods sold, anything that goes to it, which a lot of clients aren't properly categorizing. You'll see a lot of P&Ls that just have a revenue and then all the revenue hits gross profit. And then there's your SG&A expenses, which is, your selling and general expenses. So it's basically getting people to understand like what are the direct costs related to your business that should be categorized as cost of goods sold to get better understanding of what your real gross profit is.
Okay. So P&L stands for profit and loss.
Selling goods and admin.
Perfect.
Everything else. Everything else.
Everything else. Yes. All the
Yes.
other expenses that are out there that you can put under this. Okay. Thank you very much for getting that cleared up. We just want to make sure that our viewers and listeners understand these acronyms. So let's talk about what are some of the early signs that a business needs in terms of more than just a bookkeeper and is ready for fractional controller or a CFO support.
Yeah. So a lot of them that come into us for fractional controller is either they have a bookkeeper and their bookkeeper needs a little bit more guidance or help. Maybe it's somebody that isn't as skilled in accounting and they need that extra guidance on where they're categorizing transactions when they come up with something that's unique, how to handle that. And a business that's also looking for more detailed analysis over their financials. So
Okay.
we'll look at your P&L and balance sheet. We'll do what we call a flux analysis, which is basically doing a comparison from either a prior period or a prior year and looking to see differences. And with those differences, helping you make business decisions. So if we look and we say advertising spend has increased, month over month for the whole year, we would expect to see an increase in sales. There should be a
Sure.
correlation to that. But if we see that advertising expenses significantly increase, but sales have not or even decreased, my question is, why are we spending this money into advertising? Is it effective? What other things can we be doing to generate those sales? So it's really kind of doing that deeper dive. And then with fractional controller, it's more of then the strategy piece. So we help businesses at that point manage their cash flows, which is basically the cash going in and out, kind of take that on a more detailed level, helping them with, what are their goals? Are they looking to open up more locations? Are they looking to hire more employees? Can they afford to do that? We then do budgeting and forecasting of financial information to say, can we afford to hire that new employee? Can we afford to
Sure.
open that second location? We've had instances where somebody's come to us, they've signed a lease to open up a new location, and then they decided to go get funding and couldn't get funding from a bank.
Ouch.
So they ended up burning, I think it was 6 months of lease payments until they were able to get funding. We were able to get their numbers in a good shape where they could get a loan to then start building. So, it's definitely one of those things where you want to have your ducks in a row before you kind of get out there.
Absolutely. So what financial blind spots do you see most often in service-based businesses and medical practices since you're in this realm?
Yeah, a lot of it is, with the service-based businesses is not properly allocating their direct labor as a part of their costs, not considering the workers as their costs, because you don't have goods, you're not selling anything other than your services. So when you properly allocate those, then you could really determine, am I making the profit margin that I want? For a lot of
Sure.
them, like if you think of a doctor, a lot of doctors will come to us and say, I want to increase my revenue. And by doing that, the only thing I know is to work more hours. But maybe working more hours isn't feasible. There's only so many hours in a day. So it's looking at what other things can we do? Is it raising prices? Is it identifying what are our most profitable services and then pushing those? We're trying to increase more of that. I had a dentist that came to me and they said, we lose money every time we do a crown. So we understood, why are we losing money on
Wow.
the crown?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Why? Please share with
Yeah.
us.
There's a lot of
How come they're losing money?
Yeah, it's because the way that they were outsourcing the materials that they were using, we told them like, let's find a new vendor. They do lab work. The labs were expensive. So we helped them to identify new labs to work with. We had to help them to identify new materials to source that was a little bit, still good quality, but were a little less expensive. And then they were outsourcing the crown to contractors instead of doing themselves.
I see.
Identify all those and bring those back in. And it really significantly reduced the cost per crown and made it a profitable line of business instead of something that they were actually losing, a couple $100 on every time they did one.
Just think of the value add you provided to this dentist practice. Owners often avoid financial reports because they feel overwhelmed or all the numbers and everything very overwhelming. How do you help simplify complex financial information for the clients that you serve?
Yeah, I think it starts with simplifying their financial statements. So a lot of people come in and I see them where they have it very detailed. Everything is broken out. They have travel, they have airfare, they have every little aspect is broken out. And so what we like to do is simplify that as much as possible. Keep it simple. It was our first motto when we first started. I'd like to put that into everything. We don't want three things on our profit and loss statement, but we want enough things on there to tell the story properly. We don't need everything on there. We've had instances where we work with a lot of logistics companies and they wanted every single truck spelled out on their P&L. And
Mm.
we're like, that's probably great for internal, but when you want to look at it very quickly, you want to see your repairs and maintenance. You want to see them at the aggregate level. It's a lot easier to maintain that. And then it's easier for us as bookkeepers, or if they have bookkeepers that work for them, to properly enter things in when it's only going into one account and we're not trying to put it into 15 different accounts. The easiest thing is to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things and just basically it helps you to better understand what's going on.
Great. Let's talk about strategy, systems, and smarter processes. You talk about building a better system. What are some of the most important processes every small business owner and businesses should have in place?
Yeah, I think it's, having a accounting system is one. A lot of people that I've talked to, they start with Excel and that's great, but accounting system like using a QuickBooks is great because it helps you get into the rhythm of having your banks connected into a system, getting that information categorized, and then on a regular basis, either monthly or quarterly, actually looking at your financial statements and reviewing them. And if you don't know them and don't understand them, then getting with a professional like myself or a bookkeeper and basically understanding what's going on in your business. You can't make business decisions if you don't know. I don't know how many people come to me and say, I judge my business based on the cash I have in my bank.
That's a
It,
jaw dropper for me.
I know, and it's in a lot of small businesses that I don't have the time for that. I don't understand that. But for us, we do it all for you and we provide a little what we call financial highlights. It's a couple of things like, hey, here's things for you to keep an eye on for this month. Here's what went up, here's what went down, here's what we think. And just kind of getting into that good rhythm and having that good health really helps you to kind of really understand your business.
With your tech savvy modern approach, what tools or technologies have made the biggest impact on improving accuracy, efficiency, and insight for the business owners that you serve?
Yeah, I've delved a lot into the AI world and, ChatGPT and Gemini and all those have been my friend. And it's really taking some of the information in there and using it to identify trends and analysis that maybe to the human eye we don't see. So it's always good to kind of run some modeling through the tools, writing great prompts and being able to understand what's there. And it gives you a lot more insight, or it helps with even doing budgeting, financial planning, like to kind of make sure like, hey, are our assumptions correct? Does this make sense? So using those tools have been imperative to kind of help us help better serve our clients.
What does running a business based on data really look like in practice for an owner who has never really been exposed to this and has never done this before?
Yeah, it's a shift in mindset. And I think
Okay.
that's,
Shift in mindset.
it's a shift in mindset. And I think, when you look at it, there's a lot of people that are willing to accept, data and understand it. And there's are people that are scared. There are people that don't want anything to do with it and they don't have any interest in using data based off of what they know. But when you show them the output, when you show them the value of like, here's what we're able to identify, here's what we're able to uncover, looking at the results, a lot of them are wowed. Using that as the prove it method, I think really helps demonstrate the value of using data to make decisions. Anybody that's a sports fan, if you've watched baseball over the last 15 years, they went from not using data to using data metrics to identify pitches and everything else. It's kind of the same thing. If you can use data to better serve, there's value there.
Okay. And so, can you share how fractional CFO or controller, part-time controller, can support the business owners for compliance work and why it matters for long-term growth?
Yeah, I think a lot of small businesses aren't able to hire a full-time CFO or a full-time controller. And so having those fractional or part-time roles really help with establishing better processes and helping the businesses to grow. So for like a fractional controller, a lot of companies that are in this growth mode, they're getting loans, they're getting audits. And so they need somebody that can help with talking to auditors and audit support and being able to provide documentation. And, if you don't know that the first time, it is very scary when they're asking you for a ton of documents. Then they're asking questions on those documents. I know I've been on the other side. No one was ever
Okay.
a fan of the auditor showing up. But like if you
You're
have
talking about an IRS auditor.
no, like financial auditors, like your big
Ah,
four, your
okay.
regional accountings.
I see.
A
Okay.
lot of bank loans require you to have auditor reviewed financial statements on a regular basis. So every once in a while, we'll be the intermediary for those support and helping businesses to get their documents and help with the audits. And then on the CFO side, having that fractional person that can at least help you with getting budgeting starting, getting forecasting starting, it'll help you to just grow and develop that much farther.
Okay. So once a business has clean data, what strategic decisions becomes possible that weren't there before?
Yeah. So once your data is clean, the world,
Organized. Yeah.
yeah, organized, the world is your oyster now. And the best thing you can do is start developing those KPI, which is your key performance indicators, and saying, like, what are the things that we care about as a business that help us to understand? And if it's a doctor, is it number of patients that we see per chair? Is it how many times do we have a cancel appointment? Other service-based businesses, what is your gross percentage per hour? For those, you're an interior designer that gets paid hourly or a lawyer, what is our effective hourly rate, and understanding, are we hitting those margins? And if not, like, then you can start adjusting. So once you have that data and you can look at it in real time, you can then make those adjustments. If you're now say, hey, December, let me sit down and look and see retroactively how my year went, you're kind of behind now. Now you're trying to make changes for something that happened in January, February, March. But if I look at it today, I can make that change tomorrow, or next week. I can start
Wow.
implementing quickly.
Yes. Be able to make those adjustments in a timely, very timely manner versus months down the road.
Yeah,
Uh,
you won't believe how many people come to us with, hey, I haven't looked at anything since February.
wow.
Like my books, my QuickBooks. I had a client last week that came to us and said, we haven't touched our QuickBooks since February. We're working on it, but we haven't looked at it yet. So, knowing that, they don't have the proper data to be making good business decisions.
So, what metrics do you find most valuable when helping owners measure profitability and financial health?
Yeah, I think first of all, having everything properly categorized. So
Okay.
again, we go back to the data, having things properly categorized. The metrics that we look for are, what are our costs, and are our costs in the acceptable range where we expect them to be? And if they're not, we can look at industry standards in a lot of cases and say, you look at that benchmarking and saying, does this cost equal what it should be, or is it much higher? And when it's much higher, then we need to start thinking of, why is it much higher, and what can we do to get that lower? What do we need to do then to raise our revenue to make sure that it's covering that cost and we're getting those margins that we.
Okay. Great. So, owners often try to do everything themselves. What do you recommend that they start when they're ready to scale more intentionally?
Yeah. And we have a lot of owners that come to us that are doing their own books. And, we talk to them about like saving time. And there's a good piece of time that you put towards it. I myself am not a mechanic. I would not try and fix my own car. I would outsource that to somebody that is skilled. So hiring people that have the necessary skill level to do it will save you an immense amount of time. I had an owner that came to me recently, and we had helped them out. They were spending 15 hours a month doing their bookkeeping. They now spend less than an hour on it. And so we absorbed all that time for them. Now they have time to go out and do more work on their business instead of inside their business.
So, vital accounting services include bookkeeping as well.
Yes, bookkeeping is probably one of the core functions of
Absolutely.
what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about medical professionals and other high earning service providers. What financial habits typically lead to stronger long term positive outcomes?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is trusting in the professionals around you. A lot of people, to get where they are, they've hired the right individuals. I see a lot of it with doctors and lawyers. When they don't know the answer, they'll outsource or hire somebody that does. And I think that leads to them going further. I see a lot of lawyers that hire marketing professionals because it helps them to increase their marketing. They're not out there trying to market on their own. but they're using other skilled professionals to do that. And on top of that, a lot of it is putting in that dedicated work and effort and relying on the data that's out there. We share the information with them and they make those necessary adjustments and changes along the way. And so it's being reactionary to it and not, I guess, it's being more proactive than reactive.
So, if a business owner is listening right now and feels behind on their books and their financial system, what's the first step you tell them that they should take? What's the first step that they should take?
Yeah, the first step is contacting somebody that can help them out.
Okay.
Whether it's myself or another bookkeeper, find somebody that has the knowledge and the skills to help you to get you to where you need. And just basically, outlining what it is, what are your goals? The first thing we do is we outline what are your goals, what are your pain points, and how can we help you? Because our whole thing is like anybody could do bookkeeping, anybody can do some of this stuff, but we like to be that business advisor and help our clients to really better understand things. And in us better understanding them helps us to provide them better services. So if we can understand your pain points and what are the things that you're actually struggling with your business, that's where we start. And it's getting a system in place. So if it's using a system like QuickBooks, it's making sure that the information is getting entered, reconciled, and categorized in a timely manner. And you're getting those financial statements within 10 to 20 days of the end of the month and able to look at them in real time.
Wonderful. So, what do you think is one of the misconceptions about accounting and financial management that holds business owner back on setting up the proper system and doing what your advice and wisdom so far has been providing? I find it to be very, very valuable.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I can think of is a lot of people think it's only for taxes. And the only reason you do your books and have a bookkeeper is for tax purposes.
Right,
Yeah, that's a big component of it. And yes, you need good financial
right.
records to do taxes. And that's why a lot of people, they'll wait to the end of the year to have their bookkeeping done to give to their tax accountant, to get it filed on time or to get their extension. But it really is that aspect of like, you should be doing this on a very regular basis to really understand where you're going with your business.
What should listeners look for when choosing an accounting partner or a fractional CFO?
Yeah, I think it's, one is fit. Is it somebody that you can trust? Is it someone that you can have a conversation with? Or can you get a hold of them? There's a lot of
Mm.
accountants where you can't call or talk to them. It's only via email. It makes it very hard to have and go to questions. Are they going to charge you every time you talk to them? Is it like a lawyer where you have a 15-minute question and you're going to get a bill out there? So understanding the fee structure is very important. Does this person fit with me? Am I feeling comfortable? Am I going to be able to call them when I have questions and not feel like, hey, I don't want to ask questions because I don't want to be charged? I think that's
Excellent. I have many of my wealth management clients that cannot get a hold of their CPA, especially during the off season where they can't get a hold of them 3 weeks at a time. And that is very frustrating. And they don't have anything other than an email. So
right.
just these simple type of examples provides volumes of value add when a CPA can be there at the time of need.
With all of our clients, we provide either a 1 to 3 day response time, and everybody has my cell phone number or a direct email. And we do our best to get back to everyone in a timely manner because nobody wants to be ignored.
No, absolutely. I have definitely clients that are in the space where they cannot or have a very difficult time trying to get a hold of their CPAs. And many of the times it's because I need to get with their CPA to have a discussion about the strategies that we will be putting in place for their wealth management and the wealth planning. And CPAs are unresponsive sometimes to that. And, 2, 3 weeks is not okay. So, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about your firm?
You can connect with me directly on either LinkedIn at Perry Mayer or through our website, which is vitalacct.com, or reach out to me directly at perry@vitalacct.com.
And finally, what excites you most about the work you're doing at your firm?
Honestly, it's helping our clients and seeing them reach their goals and what they accomplish. The turnaround and being able to say, I don't know how many clients have thanked me for fast response time, quality metrics, and being able to really understand their business. You see the growth. There's clients that we've been working with for a few years, and to see where they were year 1 to year 3, it's a big change. That really excites me.
And Perry, any final words?
For any business owner out there, please make sure that you're at least getting some financial help, whether it's having a bookkeeper, a tax accountant, a CPA, somebody to at least give you some guidance. Too many people come to us where they haven't paid taxes in multiple years because they didn't have a tax accountant because they were too busy. They haven't done their books. So, please find somebody that can help you. There's always a bookkeeper out there that can at least give you some level of comfort to get your information in a timely manner, and interview, ask around, and find referrals out there for good ones.
Fantastic. Well, that wraps up today's episode of Jet Setting Wealth Advisory. A big thank you to Perry Mayer for sharing his insight on accounting, strategy, and helping small business grow with confidence. If you'd like, again, to learn more about Perry and Vital Accounting Services, please be sure to check out their website or connect with him directly. For viewers, all of this will be in the show notes. We'll include all the relevant links below. Please be sure to subscribe to Jet Setting Wealth Advisory for more conversations with top professionals shaping the future of finance. Until next time, keep your goals high, your plans steady, and your financial future dead on course. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for flying with us on today's episode of Jet Setting Wealth Advisory. If you enjoyed your journey through the fiscal skies with David T.U., don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and keep your financial knowledge soaring. For more insights and personalized advice, visit us at www.dtywealthplanningsolutions.com and connect with David directly